Hi, I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Bridge City News. Here's a look at some of the stories we have lined up for you tonight. Canadians brace themselves for Tuesday's federal budget, but the finance minister says there's no surprises. Plus, 11 people are wounded after a mass stabbing on a train in London over the weekend. Police have a 32-year-old man in custody. And President Trump threatens military action in Nigeria following reports of Islamic militants slaughtering Christians.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Jeanette Roche.
Thanks for joining us. Canadians are bracing themselves for Tuesday's federal budget, but the federal finance minister says there will be no surprises. On Monday, Francois-Philippe Champagne kept up the pre-budget tradition of buying a new pair of shoes from Boulet Boots in Quebec. He told reporters this morning that the budget will have something for every Canadian.
Canadians have asked us to build big, bold things. They expect us to do things differently. So we're going to make generational investments that will build our country. We're moving from reliance to resilience, from uncertainty to prosperity. We're going to do the kind of things that will make this country stronger.
As for what we might actually see on Tuesday, we get details from Craig Lord with the Canadian Press.
Carney says he wants to pivot Canada's economy away from the United States to be less reliant on our largest trading partner, and this budget is likely to show how he wants to do that. Here's what fiscal analyst Sahir Khan says about why this budget is so important.
Canadians are anxious. They were anxious in the election. By some measures, they're more anxious now. So for this budget, the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister have to respond to that anxiety. And a lot of that, was initially just about sovereignty, but now it's about, cost of living and is my job safe?
Carney has built this budget as a plan to spend less but invest more. Now, what does that mean? He's going to divide the presentation of this budget between a capital stream, money that goes toward building homes, infrastructure, major projects, stuff like that, and an operating stream, the rest of the money that goes towards government services, salaries, transfers to Canadians and provinces. You might have heard some concern about the size of the deficit in the upcoming budget. Now, that's the total amount of money that's added to Canada's total debt in a given year. We don't know yet how big the deficit's going to be in the upcoming budget. The Liberals said in late December of last year they expected the deficit to be around $42 billion for this year, but a trade war and a bunch of defense and infrastructure spending commitments later, most analysts are expecting the deficit to be much bigger in the upcoming budget. But Khan says it's not the size of the deficit on its own that matters.
It doesn't affect us, whether a budget deficit is $10 billion or $15 billion. We're not personally affected very much. At a certain point, though, that accumulated deficit you have every year has to be borrowed, and the government starts to pay interest on those bonds that it's borrowing with. And at some point, like it happened in the 1990s, that interest becomes so great they're starting to eat up other parts of the budget that we need for healthcare transfers to the provinces, that we need for infrastructure in the country, we need for the military. So you can actually start to crowd out all that spending if your debt starts to go too big.
Khan says the real test for the Liberals in this and future budgets will be whether their plan works to grow the economy faster than the pace of government spending, so that eventually more money is coming in than Ottawa is borrowing to fund that spending. If Carney can achieve that, then Canada will eventually be on pace to pay down its debts, and we'll get a better sense of his plan to do so in Tuesday's budget.
The budget will become subject to a confidence vote once it's tabled as legislation in the House of Commons. A 32-year-old man has been charged with attempted murder in connection with a mass stabbing over the weekend on a train in London. Police say the attack left 11 people wounded and say he may have stabbed 2 other people in the 24 hours before the attack. British Transport Police say Anthony Williams is charged with 10 counts of attempted murder, 1 of actual bodily harm, and 1 count of possession of a bladed weapon. This woman witnessed the horrific attack.
We just listened to music, just having a good time, and then I see that 5 rows ahead of me, a guy in a white t-shirt just jumps out of his seat out of nowhere and starts like flew. And I was thinking, what's happened? Like, there was me thinking maybe something happened to him. And then people started shouting from our coach, oh, he's got a knife. He was just a black bearded guy wearing all black and a hoodie. I didn't see the knife he was holding because I'm guessing it was already in the body or something, yeah. Everyone's running. A guy next to me is holding his arm covered in blood, saying he got stabbed, and he was right next to me on the train, so that was quite terrifying. Yes, it was horrible when you know that the train's still going, that there's no police helping you in the train. Obviously, there wouldn't be. But I was hoping that the train would just stop and we could just leave. I felt claustrophobic because, A, everyone's pushing in and we're trapped in the small kitchen area. B, there's a guy with a knife stabbing everyone and you don't know if you're going to be next or not.
Police say Williams is also charged with attempted murder over an earlier incident at a light rail station in London earlier Saturday morning. Authorities also are investigating whether he was involved in 3 incidents in the city of Peterborough on Friday evening and Saturday morning. Police say they are not treating the train stabbings as an act of terror and are not looking for other suspects. U.S. President Donald Trump says he's ordered the Pentagon to begin planning for potential military action in Nigeria. This follows reports of Islamic militants slaughtering Christians.
They're killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria. And they have other countries very bad also. You know that part of the world, very bad. They're killing the Christians and killing them in very large numbers. We're not going to allow that to happen.
An advisor to Nigeria's president told the BBC that any military action against the jihadist groups should be carried out together. Daniel Bwala said Nigeria would welcome U.S. help in tackling the Islamic insurgents, but noted that it was a sovereign country. And there are media who are questioning whether this slaughter of Christians in Nigeria is, in fact, the case. Well, this report from Global News Alliance helps clarify that question. A June attack in the village of Benue State is just one of many that have been reported. In this attack, more than 200 people were murdered and thousands more displaced. A woman named Ima shares her story.
By a younger one, never say you, a plan never knew he was having your 2 kilowatt or 2. Never was a you, being, or what some Bruno being.
Caraminity. Caraminity, Kunduna. You were down on her was there. She went under a Jesus and she stole. Young boy was a young machine.
We were told that they are coming, so I was unable to sleep. Because some people come out and they don't have houses, so they used to sleep inside those stores. So they burn everything and burn people inside with fire.
And my father's wife were inside the store during the burning of the store. Then she escaped there narrowly. He attempted to run away, and then they shot him down and butchered him. Over 200 persons were killed during the attack, and I witnessed it live.
Say that international markets occurred. The governor camped us from there.
Aluna was say, a car yana here, you to Sambaqua, Mama, Yanga. You don't manage ya. Yavan Pasamba, Migashing is a budget to a pay Yavanga, his wife, Mama, Yanga. Zanza hanging as a room.
Following President Trump's threat of military action, many Nigerians took to social media to urge the government to step up its fight against Islamic groups to avert a situation where foreign troops are sent into the country. Back here in Alberta, during the recent teachers' strike, teachers were demanding that the government address the issue of increasingly complex classrooms. On Monday, Education Minister Dimitrios Nicolaides announced proposed changes to the Education Act that would require school boards and early childhood service providers to conduct reading and math screening tests for students from kindergarten to grade 3.
If a student is struggling with reading or math, the screener will show it and identify it early. Teachers can then give targeted support before the problem becomes bigger. This means small issues don't turn into big ones, and students can get the help when they need it most in those early formative years. Parents, as I mentioned, will get the results of these screeners. This means families will always know how their child is doing in reading and math. If a child needs help, parents can work with teachers to support intervention plans at home.
The Canadian government appears to be following through on its crackdown of approval of international student visas, particularly targeting students from India. Through the third quarter of 2025, over 244,000 study permits have been approved. That's less than half of that of 2023 after its third quarter, a year that finished with 680,000 accepted permit holders, the highest total on record. The largest demographic affected are Indian applicants, down roughly 74%, going from nearly 278,000 permits in 2023 to 62,000 by the third quarter of this year. Locally, the University of Lethbridge responded to BCN on this topic in a statement. They said, quote, "The decline in new international students is unfortunate as they contribute greatly to our U-Lethbridge community and beyond, enhancing culture and diversity while inspiring research and academic success." Notably, the university's fall 2025 enrollment realized an increase of domestic students, highlighted by a 17% increase in new domestic high school students and a 24% increase in new Indigenous high school enrollment. The reduction of accepted study permits from the government is meant to tackle student visa fraud and decrease the number of temporary migrants in the country. If you are walking around downtown, you might notice special banners displayed on specific city light poles in areas of historical military importance. It's the Lethbridge Salute Our Veterans project, one of the ways the city is commemorating its veterans. The project is a joint effort between the Royal Canadian Legion, General Stewart Branch No. 4, Downtown Lethbridge Business Revitalization Zone, and the City of Lethbridge. Glenn Miller, committee member for Veterans Project, says it serves as an important reminder of those among us, past and present, who have protected our freedom.
Throughout Canada, there's been a number of communities that have honored those who have served by putting up banners in their communities. And so the banner is also digitally available to be shared around the world with a biography of that person you see as you drive by. This year we have 179, and they're stationed in spots that have a unique military connection around the Legion here, downtown by the Cenotaph, the train station where a lot of the troops went and not all came back, down by the airport, the Army, Navy, Air Force, and over on the west side now. As the program expands, we are choosing other locations, so they're by high schools on the north side and on the west side, and in high-value traffic areas. It's important to have a lasting impact for all those people on the banners they've served, either in World War I or up to currently.
This is an annual reminder that comes into the downtown of all of the veterans who fell during whatever conflict to protect this beautiful life that we live here in Canada, in this beautiful country. We have our own branded banners up there. So for October and November, we are happy to take them down, replace them with veteran banners to just bring that awareness back into our consciousness. That remembrance, that memory of the ultimate sacrifice that was made by so many people so that we can live in freedom today is vitally important to today's society.
On Tuesday, November 11th, the 2025 Remembrance Day Parade and service will be hosted at Lethbridge Trade and Convention Center from 10:45 a.m. The Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce handed out their annual business awards back on October 23rd, celebrating businesses across Lethbridge who achieve growth, legacy, and innovation. The recipient for the 2025 Business of the Year award was handed to Westco Construction. Westco has been part of the Chamber for just the past 3 years, and its employees say they credit the company's core values and family culture that the business was founded on.
The Chamber does a really good job of having events to bring people together to be able to talk and have conversations on what it looks like for business in Lethbridge and how you can be successful and help out each other. I think the personal qualities are super visible in the core values that we have, acting with integrity, showing up with professionalism. I think a lot of companies talk about a work-life balance or putting their employees first. It's nice to have a culture where, every leadership member's door is always open. It's they're open to talk to staff, hear ideas. It's just nice to see a company's core values not just sit on a wall, but actually be lived and breathed every day.
In the award description, the recipient, quote, distinguishes itself through its unwavering commitment to performance excellence, consistently delivering exceptional results and surpassing industry standards, end quote. And congratulations to them. Well, in the health and wellness world right now, there's a lot of talk about gut health. At-home tests of gut microbiomes are trending, but doctors say the technology is getting ahead of medical knowledge. In many cases, there is no proven way to treat the imbalances that the tests claim to find.
The gut microbiome is like a living ecosystem that is composed of trillions of bacteria, plus additional fungi and viruses. This is like fairly healthy gut. If there's some dramatic loss of the gut microbiome, it can influence the way that we digest food. It can create some distress to our immune systems, and it can even affect our mood and different kind of stress. Currently, the commercially available gut microbiome test is doing a great job in terms of telling you the general diversity of gut microbes in your GI tract. However, right now I would say this is much more for the curiosity of the consumers. Basically, we do not think it is one size fits all. Like you have a gut microbiome that is very different from others, it doesn't mean that you are not okay. It will take much larger studies and much more rigorous designed clinical trials in order to figure out all of the mechanisms and the specific gut microbiome intervention plans that can be tailored to individuals. To improve gut health, doctors generally suggest to start from your dietary practice. Increase the diversity of your food, increase the plant-based food, regular exercise, good sleep, and stress management. All of these have been proven to actually help people build a healthier gut.
The Canadian Digestive Health Foundation says while these home tests might give you a list of foods you should or should not eat based on your gut microbes, in fact, the diet and gut microbe research is not advanced enough to guarantee you can improve your health by following a personalized list of foods. Canada will be launching a dispute resolution process against Stellantis. Industry Minister Melanie Joly says the formal 30-day process will begin after Stellantis moved planned vehicle production from its Brampton, Ontario plant out of the country to Illinois. Joly says the goal is to recover Canadian taxpayer money and return production to the Brampton facility.
Stellantis made a commitment, a promise, to invest in that plant, to invest in Canadian workers. And our government expects them to honor that promise, full stop. Last week, I went to Brampton. I met with the women and men who've built the backbone of Canada's auto industry. People who've spent years, even decades, showing up every day with pride and determination. Last week again, they told me what this uncertainty meant for their kids, for their mortgages, and for their future. And I told them what I will tell this committee today. We will always fight for auto workers. We did not hesitate to act. Within a day of Stellantis' announcement, on October 15, I sent a letter to Antonio Filosa, global CEO of Stellantis, stating that the company's actions were unacceptable and that we expected them to honor their legally binding commitments to the Government of Canada. On October 20th, I summoned Jeff Hines, then Canadian CEO of Stellantis, for a meeting in Ottawa, joined by Vic Fideli, Ontario's Minister of Economic Development, and Lana Payne, National President of Unifor. We were clear. Stellantis is on the hook. On October 23rd, together with the Minister of Finance, we announced a 50% reduction in Stellantis' annual remission quota. That means Stellantis has 50% less of a market for its cars without tariffs in our country. Today, we're moving forward. Before the close of business, the government will take the next step under the contracts to recover Canadian taxpayers' money. This means that we'll start the 30-day period of the formal dispute resolution process in order to bring back production at the Stellantis Brampton facility. This is the start of the dispute resolution process.
Anticipation is building over what the federal government might say in Tuesday's budget about stablecoins. It's the kind of crypto asset that aims to mirror real-world currencies rather than replace them. Stablecoins have been growing fast enough to raise fears they could eventually destabilize Canada's finances by drawing capital out of the country. Tetra Digital Group Chief Executive Didier Lavallée says Canadians should want a homegrown stablecoin, while Ontario Securities Commission Chief Executive Grant Vingo says it's still an open question as to how widely used stablecoins will actually become, and Canada should not rush to jump on the bandwagon. Now here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was up 14 points on the day to finish at 30,275. The Dow was down 226 points to 47,336. The S&P 500 was up 11 to 6851, and the Nasdaq was up 109 points to finish at 23,834. West Texas Intermediate Oil was up 7 cents to 61.05 U.S. per barrel. Natural gas was up 12 cents to 4.24 U.S. Gold was down $3.30 to $4,113 U.S. an ounce, and silver was down 71 cents to 48.08 U.S. an ounce. Feed wheat is at $7.21 per bushel. Barley is at $5.64. Canola is at $14.69, and corn is at $7.37 per bushel. Live cattle December contract was up $2.52 to $232.20. Feeder cattle were up $3.70 to $342.57. Lean hogs December contract was down 67 cents to $80.67, and the Canadian dollar was even over the past 24 hours at 71.10 US.
Recapping one of our top stories, Tuesday is the big day for the release of the Liberal government's budget. But the federal finance minister says there will be no surprises. On Monday, François-Philippe Champagne carried out the pre-budget tradition of buying a new pair of shoes from Boulet Boots in Quebec. He told reporters this morning that the budget bill will have something for every Canadian. In December of last year, the Standing Committee on Finance gave 2 recommendations regarding charitable status. One was to revoke it from the pro-life organization, and another to remove the privileged status of advancement of religion as a charitable purpose. Coming up next, Faitine Grasiski shares more about these proposals, which could be included in the Carney government's November 4th budget, and the potential impacts that could take place if it is passed. Also, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or our YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our stories and interviews.